The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1, the third part of the Hunger Games series, adapted from a trilogy of books. This was one of the first really popular series of films which decided to split the final movie into two parts, which was also done by franchises like Harry Potter, Twilight, apologies, Mission Impossible, Fast and Furious, and many others. A decision which, in this particular scenario, Francis Lawrence, the director, later admitted to being probably the wrong one. It was the reason for a lot of criticism against the film, with which he ended up agreeing. The film starts soon after the previous cliffhanger ending. Katniss and some of the others are now in an underground facility in District 13, previously presumed completely destroyed. The people there are gearing up for a full-scale uprising, for war. And they want to use Katniss, the Mockingjay, as their face, as the symbol for their rebellion. But she's, again, grappling with that idea. I mean, we could see in the previous movies she never did really well in public appearances and playing for the cameras while still in the capital, and she has similar struggles here, especially as Peeta and a couple other tributes were not rescued along with her and are still held by the capital, used as propaganda machines on the other side, and looking, increasingly worse, prompting Katniss to try and force a rescue mission. So I talked about criticism of the movie at the time of its release, and I believe they mainly touched the criticisms. They mainly touched on the film's structure and pacing issues. The previous two movies flowed very well and had naturally fitting sort of flow that led to natural conclusions. This one does really feel like it ends in the middle of the story. It's kind of abrupt. It's also the least action-packed of all three so far, and a large majority of the movie takes place in an underground bunker, which is also not very exciting in a visual sense. And sure, the things that the plot explores are quite interesting. It shows Katniss being now used as a tool by the other side, by the rebellion, and puts that essentially side by side with previously being used as a tool by the government. It's making a point that she's largely not in control of her own life, that she's become a pawn in a much larger game. There's also some commentary on the nature of propaganda and oppressive governments, as well as morality of actual guerrilla warfare and, sacrificing resources to produce weapons when there are people actually starving. But it isn't as tightly paced as the series has gotten used to, and there are definite lulls in the narrative. It's also kind of strange because the big set piece towards the end, in the final act, doesn't even really include Katniss. She's an observer, she's watching from the sidelines, so the tension isn't quite there at the same level. So how best to put it? It's not a bad film, but it's not a good one either, and I do strongly suspect, without yet seeing the fourth one, that a lot of its issues are a direct result of splitting one film into two, and could have potentially been avoided, because the things that are compelling about the series in general, the dystopian world, the deconstruction of the modern day young adult hero type, exploration of the idea of becoming a symbol sort of against your will, these elements are still here. It's just that they're not executed as well as in the first two movies. This is a definite step down, but hopefully the finale will still be worth it.